If someone told Yomi that the greatest battle of his life would be over love, he would have laughed. After all, he was the only son of Chief Adaeze, oil tycoon, real estate mogul, and billionaire whose name opened doors before he even knocked. From the moment he drew breath, Yomi was groomed for power. He had attended the finest schools, closed million-dollar deals by 25, and was set to inherit an empire that spanned continents. Love, he figured, would be an acquisition, a strategic alliance, or at best, a pleasant distraction. But everything changed the moment he saw Adaeze. And here's the part that shocks people the most. He didn't meet her at a corporate gala, or on a luxury trip in Dubai, or at the elite Lagos yacht club. He met her at the gate. The first time Yomi noticed her, she was sweeping the compound walkway at dawn, humming softly with her thick braids tied behind her head. The early morning light caught the fine dust, turning it into shimmering gold around her. Her father, Mr. Okiki, had been the family gateman for nearly 12 years, a man Yomi passed daily without seeing, loyal, quiet, a figure utterly invisible to the powerful. But Adaeze, she was nothing like her environment. She carried herself with a gentle confidence, moving with an innate grace that made the frayed edges of her modest dress disappear. It was as if life hadn't succeeded in beating her down. She was the quiet victor of her own circumstance. Yomi watched from the ornate balcony of his suite, his morning coffee growing cold in his hand. Confusion, unfamiliar and sharp, pulled at his chest. A billionaire's son, the master of his domain, shouldn't feel butterflies, yet he did. And they grew every time she smiled, even if the smile wasn't meant for him. It didn't take long before he invented elaborate excuses to walk toward the gate, pretending to stretch, pretending to jog, pretending to take crucial international calls outside. Anything, just to see her again, to catch a glimpse of that quiet dignity. The first time they spoke, Adaeze saw him panting dramatically from the exercise he was fake doing. She offered him a chilled bottle of water with a slight, knowing smile. He laughed, a deep, genuine sound that surprised them both. She laughed in return, and in that shared moment, the colossal wall of class and wealth between them crumbled into dust. That laugh turned into conversations, jokes, and stolen moments behind the overgrown hibiscus hedge where the oppressive gaze of the CCTV cameras couldn't reach. He learned that she loved to read, that she was saving every naira for university, and that she dreamed of a life dedicated to service, not luxury. She in turn saw past the expensive suit and the entitled heir, discovering a thoughtful, kind man trapped in a gilded cage. But when the heart chooses someone society forbids, trouble always follows. Their hidden glances and lingering talks were noticed. Word spread among the household staff that Olga Yomi was getting too close to the gateman's daughter. The kitchen maids whispered over the stew pots. The driver shook his head in disapproval. The delicate balance of the Adaeze world was being threatened by a girl who didn't even belong in the main house. And then, one fateful afternoon, the meticulous, rule-driven house manager marched into Chief Adwell's office and delivered the devastating report. "Sir, your son is fraternizing with the help." That was the day the real storm began. Chief Adwell summoned Yomi immediately, his face a mask of cold fury that made the office feel smaller. "A billionaire's heir does not marry poverty," he thundered, his voice shaking the crystal decanters on his desk. "Do you think I built this empire for you to dilute it with a common girl? She will destroy your destiny and disgrace our name." Yomi, usually composed, tried to argue, to explain the purity of his feelings, but his father cut him off with a brutal finality. "End it, now, or you'll forfeit everything." For the first time in his life, Yomi defied the man who controlled his entire existence. That night, under the cover of darkness and a thick fog, he snuck out to meet Adaeze by the security post. His voice cracked as he relayed his father's threats and the insurmountable pressure. She trembled, not because she feared the chief's power, but because she feared becoming the reason Yomi's family, his legacy, fell apart. They tried to keep their distance. For a week, Yomi stayed locked in his opulent room. Adaeze stayed silent in the small hot gatehouse, and they pretended their hearts weren't screaming across the compound. But love has a way of growing fierce in silence. One evening, a sudden heavy tropical rain trapped Adaeze under the small leaking shed by the gate. Yomi saw her shivering from his window, rushed out with an umbrella, and before they could talk themselves out of the danger, they kissed. It was a kiss that tasted like risk, rebellion, and something that felt frighteningly, intoxicatingly permanent. The next morning, everything exploded. Chief Adwell, having reviewed the perimeter CCTV playback, erupted. His rage was volcanic, his pride wounded to the core. He fired Mr. Okiki on the spot and ordered the guards never to let Adaeze near the compound again. Yomi begged, pleaded, but the chief's pride was iron. The Okiki family was thrown out that same hour, their few belongings packed into coarse jute sacks, their dignity bruised and publicly shamed. Yomi drove after the rickety taxi they took, heartbroken and furious, desperate to make amends, to claim her. He pulled up beside the taxi near the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. He knew he had to choose, but Adaeze stopped him. She stepped out into the pouring rain, her face a heartbreaking mix of anguish and resolve. "Don't fight your father for me, Yomi," she whispered, tears streaking her face indistinguishable from the rain. "You're a billionaire's son. You have a destiny. I'm just—" Yomi lifted her chin, forcing her to look into his eyes. "You're everything," he vowed, but she stepped away, her voice firmer now. "Love isn't enough in your world. Not when it costs you everything. Your father is right about one thing. I can't be the reason you lose your name." She turned. She walked away, melting into the gray rain and the crowded bus park. And Yomi watched the only girl he ever loved disappear. Weeks bled into months. Yomi spiraled, skipping crucial corporate meetings, ignoring calls from New York, drinking expensive scotch late at night. He became a shadow of the disciplined young man who once had the billionaire world at his fingertips. His father assumed he would eventually snap out of it, that the loss of a common girl was a minor bruise. He didn't. Instead, Yomi secretly began searching for Adaeze all across markets, bus parks, church outreaches, using every resource he had access to, but she was gone without a trace. Then one frantic morning, something unexpected happened. Chief Adwell collapsed during a high-stakes board meeting. Hypertension, stress, and perhaps the crushing fear of watching his heir destroy himself over a lost love. Suddenly, the mighty lion of industry was vulnerable, diminished to a frail man in a sterile white hospital gown. Yomi rushed him to the hospital and didn't leave his side for days. He was still fulfilling his duty, but he was no longer the subservient son. He was the protector of a man whose life he felt had been misspent on walls instead of windows. During that time, nurses, drivers, even cleaners came to thank Yomi for how he had always treated them with respect over the years, proving his true character lay beneath the wealth. But one senior nurse, a woman with kind eyes, said something that stuck with him like a lodestone. "Money builds walls. It keeps the world out. Love builds bridges. It lets the best of the world in. Choose wisely, son." When the chief finally recovered enough to sit up, he noticed his son had fundamentally changed, calmer, clearer, but with an intense, quiet coldness. Yomi had stepped fully into the family business, running operations flawlessly, but without his usual spark, his passion. It bothered the old man more than he expected. One night, as Yomi tucked him in, the chief finally broke. "What do you need, Yomi?" he rasped. "What do you need to be whole again?" Yomi looked at the man who had terrified him his whole life and whispered, not a demand but a truth, "Adaeze." Silence. A long, heavy silence filled the private hospital room, thick with the weight of 12 years of pride and class prejudice. Then something Yomi never expected. Chief Adwell sighed, a sound of profound surrender. "Find her." Weeks later, the exhaustive search finally traced Adaeze to Enugu, over 12 hours away, where she had relocated to care for her ailing grandmother. Yomi drove straight through the night, terrified and hopeful in equal measure. When he finally found her, she was standing outside a small community clinic in a simple, pressed uniform dress, handing out medical brochures. She hadn't been hiding, she had been quietly, diligently studying to become a nurse, finally achieving the dream she held by the gate. She froze when she saw him, her hands dropping the brochures. "Yomi?" He walked toward her slowly, carefully, the way you approach something precious so it doesn't vanish. He was no longer the entitled boy she knew. "I'm here," he said, his voice husky. "For you, for us, I'm not leaving again. If you'll have me." Adaeze didn't cry. She didn't run into his arms. She only asked one practical question that showed the true strength of her character. "Has your father accepted me?" Yomi nodded, the simple action carrying the weight of his entire family's shift. "He sent me. He told me to build the bridge he should have built all along." Her breath hitched, and slowly she smiled, the brilliant, dignified smile he had been searching the whole world for. On their wedding day, a year later, the atmosphere was electric. Guests filled the massive, opulent hall in Lagos, a beautiful fusion of tradition and modern elegance. As photographers adjusted their lenses and the orchestra hushed, as Adaeze stepped out in a breathtaking lace gown woven with tiny, luminous beads, everything stopped. Then, at the entrance, just as the ceremony was about to begin, a figure walked in. Mr. Okiki, Adaeze's father. He walked in not as the gateman in his faded uniform, not as a disgraced, humiliated employee, but as a legend. Turns out Adaeze's father wasn't always a gateman. Years ago, before the Adaeze Empire was fully established, Mr. Okiki was a brilliant self-made civil engineer running a highly successful construction firm. He lost everything when his unscrupulous business partner betrayed him, leaving him bankrupt and nearly ruined. Chief Adwale, in his expansion phase, had inadvertently benefited from the subsequent collapse of Mr. Okiki's rival firm. Mr. Okiki, instead of seeking charity or revenge, took the gatekeeping job simply to feed his family with dignity, hiding his illustrious past out of humility, not shame. He had been quietly working at the gate of the man who, unknowingly, had contributed to his ruin, building an even greater fortress of character. Chief Adwale, who was standing at the front of the aisle, was stunned. He walked up to the former gateman, his voice thick with a mixture of disbelief and respect. "Why didn't you ever tell me, Okiki? You were a king in your own right." Mr. Okiki smiled, a wise, profound smile that made him look like the elder statesman he truly was. "You never asked, Chief. You only saw the uniform." Effect, deep and resonant, filled the hall. Pride transformed Adaeze's face, and in that powerful moment, both families realized something profound. It wasn't a billionaire's son marrying a gateman's daughter. It was two great souls, both born of struggle, sacrifice, and love, finally finding their rightful place. The billionaire's heir had married the engineer's daughter, the nurse, the woman who had already built her own formidable character. The wedding bells rang clear and true. The hall erupted in cheers that echoed off the high ceilings, and Yomi, holding his wife's hand, whispered into Adaeze's ear. Love wasn't the problem, pride was the wall. She squeezed his hand, her own eyes shining with the future. "Then let's build a life with none of it." And they did. They built a legacy, not on money or status, but on the true foundation that had brought them together, unbreakable love and quiet dignity.